back to another edition of 705 Sports. I have my other partner in crime here, Dan Gray. Thanks, Dan, for joining me today.
No problem. How are you today?
Hey, doing pretty good. Can't complain, all things considered. I mean, a little bit of a disappointing topic to start off.
Yeah.
So, I am assuming, there we go, I learned how to talk now, that most people have heard the Ontario Hockey League season has been cancelled. We reported on that right away. We actually got the scoop about why it was going to be cancelled before TSN and Sportsnet, so go on TV and sue online. I want to get that out there right away. But at 10:30, they announced that the OHL season will be cancelled. They said this had to do with rapid COVID numbers, the stay-at-home order, and hospitalizations. When I spoke with Lisa McLeod the week before, she said it would be irresponsible for them to get back on the ice. It's a very sad thing that's happened. I also do want to point out that they were very close to a return to play, but it was during this third wave it had to be shut down. The Ontario Hockey League is the only minor hockey league in Canada, actually in North America, to not play.
So, given COVID as a reason, and we were going to go into what sounded like possibly bubbles and play-in bubbles, etc., you still have to look at the financial implications on the teams. We do not have a year of revenue.
No.
We lost last year's playoff revenue. This is going to hurt. Not playing is going to hurt. You're going to lose some of your top talent to Europe. You're going to lose some of your top talent to the NCAA. And you're probably going to lose some of your top talent even to the WHL and the QMHL. Like, this, should be considered, and by most stats are considered the premier league for development.
We are.
When we have to do a 15-year-old rule so that some 15-year-olds can come to the O
and play
to get their development faster so they can end up in there is something to be said for we train well, we play well, we play an elite level of hockey that is, in my opinion, sometimes better than watching the NHL skate around the ice.
It really is, and like to give you some stats here, 20% of OHL the NHL draft comes from the OHL since 2013. We bring in the second most goaltenders and the highest amount of goalies and forwards out of any minor hockey league into the NHL in the world, not North America. So I'm not just talking about the Q and the W. I'm talking about the KHL, the Swedish Elite League, the Finnish Elite League, all these other leagues, and we've been kicking their butts in prospects.
I laugh a little bit when we say goaltenders because everybody thinks goaltenders, I think the Q.
Yeah.
Like when we play here, think fast, quick, forward-based OHL hockey. We don't so much think defense. You want a defenseman, go west. You want to be a goalie, go Quebec. You want to play fast, forward, quick, high level NHL caliber hockey. When you get into the best teams, you're here.
But I was very surprised at this as well, and I found all this information on the Ontario Hockey League website in their press release. And it's not even just affecting the players. There are 831 part-time jobs that are affecting the Ontario Hockey League, 176 internships or co-ops, 1,100 volunteers, 327 full-time jobs, and the Ontario Hockey League on its own raises over $4 million to charity on average a year.
No Veritas. Sorry, that's the first the first charity that comes to mind every year is the Veritas.
True.
And we're not just talking Veritas. They always do breast cancer. They do lots of different things. But what else we're not talking about is the employees inside places like our GFL Center, where our lights guys, our audio tech guys, well, maybe according to the city of Sault Ste. Marie, it might be a little different since the numbers haven't gone down for salaries and charge and everything else. Maybe they've kept them on doing something else.
Maybe they found another spot.
Maybe they found another spot for them. But there are other cities where places like GFL Center or Memorial Gardens or whatever, pick them. Those staff have been laid off.
Yeah, I heard some staff was laid off in Barrie.
These aren't even OHL people anymore. We're starting to talk about people in our own communities who work there.
And you know, when you make up a good point about community as well, Well, you know what else that no one else is really talking about? Just the entertainment factor in general. That's especially a city like Sault Ste. Marie. The Greyhounds is the highest level of professional sports we have in town, and I don't think anyone would argue me on that. So, like, you got to think about these families that are trying to find entertainment to take their kids, who maybe can't necessarily afford, this is pre-COVID, mind you, to hop on a plane and go to Toronto.
Okay, but given that the OHL isn't as affordable as it used to be for kids.
Oh no, it's definitely
families.
Not. It's gone up in price a lot.
They've started to realize that this is premier hockey, and tickets in some locations are definitely resulting in that. You see, it's not, when I grew up, and I'm a few extra years older than you.
I'm the young whippersnapper.
You could go to a Guelph Storm game, which is my home team.
Yeah.
And you could do a family for $60 easily. That's your
anymore.
Food, that's your tickets, that's your night. And at some point, that might even be your gas getting down there.
Not so much
now
anymore.
your tickets for a family of 3 or 4 is more than that.
Oh, it definitely is. I mean, the way the inflation has gone, and realistically everything. I remember when it was about the same thing. My mom, my brother, and my grandfather and myself, we'd go to a Barrie Colts game. I'm from Barrie originally, and it would be around, you're right, that $60 to $80 range, where like the last time I went to a Greyhound game, which my gosh is over a year ago now, it was quite a bit more expensive than what it used to be. But it still is, comparing it to the NHL, and I'm even going to say comparing to go to see a movie, the OHL is still a decently affordable night out for a family of 4, which that is something that's really, I think, harming people as well.
My last Greyhound game was the WFCU Center like 4 years ago, so you still got me beat.
It's definitely it's a really unfortunate thing, and
their diehard fans are suffering.
They are.
There's diehard CFL fans, there's diehard OHL fans, there's diehard QMHL or just Canadian Hockey League fans in general, and it's a sad announcement for this. With that said, though, the WHL just canceled their playoffs,
but at least they had a season.
Okay, let's put this into perspective here. They had a season, but not in the way that they would normally have a season.
No,
they segregated, they separated, they kept parts of the province together. This has not been a Canadian Hockey League season that anybody could really be proud of. At least they played. But how can you draft those people and those players ahead of OHL players based on a really wacky situation?
But I mean, even a wacky situation, I look at it, normally the OHL, like I said, is 20% of the draft. Right now, the highest ranked Ontario hockey player is ranked 52nd, Wyatt Johnston from the Windsor Spitfires.
You said Wyatt.
When do you not see anyone in the top 10 from the OHL? And I mean, I know you said, well, the Western Hockey League had a weird season. The Quebec Major Junior League had a weird season. At least they had some sort of a season.
Yeah.
Like, these kids are, I'm sorry, they're screwed. And you look at it now, like, if the way this happened, if they don't get drafted, if the OHL doesn't do something about kids in their last year, I'm saying kids not even that much older than me, but that's not the point. They could be done.
They're not older
and the
than you at all.
Ontario government, in my opinion, failed.
They're not older than you at all, but anyway, they're younger than you, but that's okay.
Yeah, younger, not older.
But I understand where you're coming from.
I swear I'm not 12.
But in the end, the provincial government, whether we like it or not, had a huge role to play in bringing this to a close. If the OHL could have played, they would have played.
Oh, 100%.
There is nobody in that OHL head office that wouldn't have loved to do what the WHL was doing and Q was doing. That's it. How do we go about fixing this? Do we give these individuals an extra year of eligibility into the NHL draft? Is there something the OHL can do that's with the NHL that says, okay, so these people that might have been 19 years old that were still fighting for a contract, if we extend them to 20 next year, make them the overager, or 21, I forget exactly how that rule works, would you still consider them for the draft? Because a lot of the overagers aren't considered for the draft either. But they're not that I'm saying like Wyatt is an overager. He's not. I think it was his first eligibility here was he's 18, so he's eligible again next year to be drafted. But now he's up against the next set of
players,
big guns.
Exactly. And it's one of these things, it is just very frustrating because I look at what they did in other provinces in the country, and for the most part it worked. I mean, I remember way back in October when they were close, but then Lisa McLeod said, oh, no body contact, and the OHL's like, well,
no body contact.
What's the point?
No
and it's just,
no
it's one of these
contact,
things.
No face-offs.
No, and it's like, you know what? I feel bad for these players. I feel bad for the league. I feel bad for the people who lost their jobs. I just feel bad in general. Before we get to break, I do want to mention the NHL draft will be held July 23rd to 24th. As of right now, it was delayed 1 month due to the pandemic. There has been some rumors about a prospect tournament instead of the prospect game, where the OHL sends a team, the WHL sends a team, and the Quebec League sends a team.
Hey, that sounds like something they do mid-season almost every other year when the Russians come over.
Basically, but instead of the Summit Series, it'll be a series against each of those teams. But Dan, we've already talked for over 10 minutes. So, I mean, we got to go.
You got to shut up then.
I do. So we got to go to break. I mean, Dan's going to get some duct tape, so I'll be quiet. We will be right back right after this commercial.
Huntington's disease is a hereditary degenerative disease of the brain.
It affects your behaviors, your mind.
And it's a relentless disease.
If you took Alzheimer's, if you took schizophrenia, if you took Parkinson's and you mix them all together, you would have Huntington's disease.
Huntington's disease is devastating.
I just hope that I'm the last.
And our producers in the back have given us duct tape. We've decided we're not going to use it on Jacob quite yet. And this is going to be our threat going forward. Every time he stops talking too much, we're just going to raise the duct tape. And we're done with the OHL for a little while here now. And I did notice that the NHL had talked about possibly doing their puck drop for October 12th, which would bring it back to like almost a normal.
Almost a normal season.
A normal season. I think we still be a couple of weeks behind.
So let's hope for that. Fingers crossed.
We're hoping on that just to finish off our little hockey side of the world for now. Now we have to talk about something that's a little bit more passionate to him than myself. The CFL, you have fun with your little rant, my friend.
So the Canadian Football League, the CFL, made an announcement this week, which we predicted was going to happen. Bam, came true. CFL announced that they will be starting their season late, looking between mid-July at first, and then they came out and said August is our targeted start date. So I know as a CFL, I swear, first the Leafs bucked the place. Now I think the CFL has bucked the place. Because if you rewind and remember what Dan Gray and I said a couple weeks ago, we said the CFL had to start no later than August because they wanted to get their season going before the NFL and the NCAA. And when you look at that, I swear they're listening to us. So they're saying that. They're saying there is no guarantee whether fans will be in these stands or not. But it is reported one of the main reasons why they pushed back the start of the season is they're hoping as more of the provinces get people vaccinated, they can get fans in these stands. The BC Lions reported that they are aiming to have 4,000 to 5,000 fans in the stands per night. Their arena holds approximately between 25,000 to 30,000 people. Just to give you guys a ballpark idea, that 4,000 to 5,000 people is not a lot in an arena that size.
No, it's not a lot just in general, but it's a start.
It's a start for sure.
So October. Well, we can take what they're doing in MLB right now. Texas started by bringing in, at least one of Texas's teams started with bringing in 15%. And now California did the same thing. And now they're looking at 35. Then they're looking at 40. And eventually, I think the Dodgers want to be at a full stadium by sometime mid-July. I think they were actually aiming for July 4th weekend.
Right.
As a full stadium of fans. If we could do that in a CFL sense of the world, but we have to also look at this. We're talking about opening a season August 1st, August 5th. You're 3 weeks ahead of college football.
At least you're still... Now, that's when they're saying they want their regular season to start. So it's not like they're going to... I think at this point, they're basically not doing a preseason at all.
I was going to say preseason...
No, just get that out of here. They are moving that season from an 18-game season to a 14-game season. I don't know why I'm doing this. I am very precise. So those are some strategies they are taking. Put that tape away, sir. So we'll see what's going on with that. I think as much as I'm 50-50 on the announcement. I was sad to see the CFL starting late. Happy to see that they have put out a start date. Hey, that rhymed. But
But they have 3 weeks before they become non-existent. The CFL lives for being a summertime sport. Mm-hmm. Even if you say, okay, 100% of your fans can be in the seats starting November. That's being very generous. Mm-hmm. You're not going to have those, especially if you put them on a Sunday. I hope they keep them off Sundays.
I think they'll have to look into staggering their games.
If they could even keep them off of Saturdays starting in September,
maybe weekdays,
weeknights. That's where they live. What Wednesday night football on TSN
is huge for the CFL.
Shout out for TSN is huge for the CFL. But if they could live weeknights in that prime football and stay away from Mondays, but if you could live between Tuesday and Friday as that other league while the CFB and the NFL are playing, you might actually garner more attention.
That's a good
possibility. But if you put yourself on a Saturday or you put yourself on a Sunday and you're looking for TV ratings,
you're going to struggle.
You're going to have trouble. Looking for butts in the seats on a Sunday, you're still going to struggle.
Depending on the market. I mean, you look at the CFL and they have like their BC Lions is a big market. The Edmonton football team's a decent Calgary market. Saskatchewan is a huge market. If you're not a Rough Rider fan in Saskatchewan, I don't know why you're there. It's an insanely
you definitely
big
don't
market.
Admit that you're not a Rough Rider fan in Saskatchewan.
No.
But the same boat for Manitoba. If you're not a Blue Bombers fan in Manitoba, like we discussed this a few weeks ago, CFL lives in those 4 markets.
Not the Ontario Quebec market as much.
Montreal, Ottawa, Toronto, and BC. You make money there. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for bringing a little bit to the party.
Yeah.
But CFL lives for Calgary, Edmonton, Saskatchewan, and Winnipeg.
And see,
those are your drivers. Saskatchewan is one of your biggest drivers, but those are your drivers.
And see, that was the interesting thing too. So here's where you start to question some of their thinking. So the only 2 provinces that have not verbally agreed to the return to play is Ontario and Quebec. So do you possibly looking into maybe relocating the Argos, Red Blacks, and Alouettes temporarily, sort of the way like the Raptors were relocated to Tampa? That might be a legitimate option.
What about this? You lose 3 teams for a season. Your season is held, hear me out, between BC, Calgary, Edmonton, Saskatchewan, and the Rough Riders.
See, my worry about doing that is though the CFL is already such a small league, it would almost, does everybody just go like, and you get a playoff spot, and you get a playoff spot, and the production team gets a playoff spot. Everybody gets a playoff spot, and that would be my worry.
So be it. Let's just have one big playoff. Maybe that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Maybe because we're pushing it back 2 weeks now already. But I know we got to get out of here. The warning has come across from the people in the production, and he's going to tell me to use the tape.
I'm afraid. But I guess then we got to go to a break. If you're missing content, don't blame me. Blame everyone else. We'll be right back to talk about the Leafs, their injury reports, and of course we got your Saturday breakdown. Stay with us. Welcome back to 705 Sports with myself and Dan Gray. He's kept the tape on the desk for now because everyone knows that I just get way too passionate about sports.
Keeping it under the desk, it's like training a bit of a dog, like dog training, where if they see the threat, they kind of behave, but if it's under and hidden away, they don't. So here, now you see the threat.
I'm afraid.
Some of our Leafs need duct tape for their injuries.
They do. So let's jump into the Leafs injury report, which is getting bigger and bigger. almost by the day. So we have Zach Hyman, who's out week to week with a knee injury. Frederick Anderson, who is skating but is still currently on long-term injury reserve. He has to stay on there for at least another week. Mikheyev, who could possibly play Saturday, is out with an undisclosed injury. And then we know Riley Nash, who we picked up on trade deadline, is still out with a sprained knee. Nick Foligno and Ben Hutton
cleared their COVID.
They've cleared from COVID protocol. We're going to break the illusion here. We did record this on Thursday. The show is airing Friday, so we don't know if they're going to play in the Thursday night game or not yet, but it looks like there's a very good chance they will be. So the Leafs are certainly banged up. You are right. They definitely might need that duct tape. So how do you think, at least, Nick Foligno might fix some issues here?
He fits exactly where Hyman comes off of. He fits right in that line, right beside Tavares, right beside Nylander. Let him go. That's where I think he go, but he could also be top line. You could put him with Marner and Matthews.
So you would maybe then you'd flip Galchenyuk back to the second?
Yeah, he's got to.
Because Galchenyuk actually had a lot of success.
Yeah, but I think if you put Galchenyuk against Foligno, and you were to put them on Foligno on top line with
Matthews and Marner.
So what you get is that same, and I'm forgetting the name now. He just did a whole lot of games, but you get that same sort of fatherly figure on that.
So kind of like a Joe Thornton or a Jason Spezza kind of.
So I would like to see.
Or Patrick Marleau.
That was who I was looking for. Thank you. You have that fatherly figure.
Yeah.
On that line. And goes into corners. I don't know why Thornton was ever taken off that line.
Neither do I. I've had this discussion with quite a few people.
It does not make any complete sense to me why you would take him off that line.
Because he was having so much success on that line.
And he seems to have faded, and that could also be fatigue. Mm-hmm. Like he is over.
He's getting up there. He's in his 40s.
But stick Foligno, take him either put him with Tavares and Nylander, or put him with Marner and Matthews, and at least you have a patch till Hyman comes back.
Now, see, in my humble opinion, would do, Nick Foligno might be the glue. I think Foligno would be a perfect fit on that second line with Tavares and Nylander. The reason why I say that is because Tavares and Nylander have been playing so much better since Hyman went on that line. Matthews and Marner, I think we could put that row of tape there and they'd probably still put up the same amount of points. So I like Galchenyuk on that line because I think he kind of knows when to get involved in the play and knows when to get out of the way. And then I think Nick Foligno will do a really nice job being that secondary scoring on the second line who is still responsible defensively and is still physical. I think once Hyman's back, he moves down to the third line for sure. I think that's what they got him, is to fill that third line gap. Another injury we forgot to mention, well, I did, you didn't, my fault, not his, would be Zach Bogosian. He's also out with well, we know what the injury is. You know the Leafs aren't putting out in public lower body injury when he fell into the boards. That's where I think Ben Hutton is going to step in.
Yeah, absolutely. He's gonna fit there
perfectly. He's
you
similar
have an argument when Bogosian comes back, what you're gonna do.
I think what you do then is I think Dermott is your 7th or possibly 8th defenseman after watching Rasmus Sandin play the other night. I was actually pretty impressed with him.
Yeah, and is he better than Dermott? In the long run, probably. But we have this agreement. Dermott's hit a wall.
Yeah,
he needs to go somewhere. He probably isn't going to shouldn't get past the offseason with us.
He won't. I think he'll be on another team by next season, 100%.
And Sandin's been waiting in the wings long enough to give him a shot to prove himself.
Exactly. But another topic we're going to move on to is the Leafs, at this time, are on a 5-game losing streak. Let's hope by the time this airs, they snapped it against the Winnipeg Jets.
Not likely.
Jack Campbell and David Rittich as a tandem, that's something I want to talk about. Since Rittich has came here, as I'm flipping pages around frantically, Campbell has started to struggle. So his last win was against Montreal, where he played great. Then in his Ottawa, he also won that game, but didn't play so well. But at least he won. Then they get Rittich on the 12th. He has an .875 save percentage on the 12th. He gets pulled on the 15th, and then on the 18th, an .875 save percentage. So I'm wondering, did getting David Rittich, Big Save Dave, who did not play like Big Save Dave at all the last game he played, did that mess with Campbell mentally is what I'm wondering. Campbell and Hutch seemed to gel.
They knew their spot. They knew Campbell was the number 1. They knew Hutch was the number 2. Campbell was going to play where Campbell played, and Hutch was going to get the other ends of the back-to-backs. That was the way it was going to roll. You bring in somebody who's got a nickname of Big Save Dave, who seemed to be Easy Goal Dave lately. That's got to screw with the person that thought he was the number one. It's almost like they brought in an Anderson without bringing in an Anderson, and now you're going to have problems. Anderson comes off the IR in probably 10 days. You have Anderson, Campbell, Big Save Dave, and Hutch. Hutch. So you have Anderson, Campbell, and Big Save Dave. 2 spots for a 1A, 1B, 1C goalie. And so C is Riddick right now, but
definitely.
Where do you go? What do you do?
I want to mention this too. Everyone, and I agree, out of those 3, Hutchinson's definitely going to be another odd man out. But did you know Hutchinson right now has the best save percentage on all the goalies on the Leafs? So it's like, you had a tandem that worked. You had a recipe for success. That's just like, you know what? I'm going to make you a pie. Everyone knows here, eggs make pie, and I've stated that at work plenty of times. So I'm going to make you a pie. It's going to taste beautifully. Put that tape away. And it's going to taste great. All of a sudden, I add another ingredient. I'm going to put that highlighter in it. Is that pie going to taste the same, or is it going to be off?
Is it a chemistry issue? Is it a chemistry issue throughout the team? Because the team knew they could back Campbell.
That too. We all know David Riddick has a bit of an attitude problem. We talked about that the day he was brought here, when we watched that play of when he got pulled one game and he just starts smashing his head against the wall. And I'm just like, whoa, buddy, what are you doing? Like, ever since that, the Leafs haven't looked as confident.
Passion, but there's also...
I like passion,
you have to be able to back
calm
it up.
down.
You have to be able to back it up. Are the Flames done?
I think so. I think the Calgary Flames are done. That was a nice segue, because they need to also and just give up on the season.
And Riddick came from there. So
Riddick came from there.
Riddick's doing this. The Flames are doing this.
Mind you, Sam Bennett's going whoop. He's playing fantastic. Yeah. But we'll save that for another day as well. But I think the Flames, they are done. I think you're going to look back at the Calgary Flames season, and you're going to laugh when I say this. They did not make the playoffs because they could not beat the Ottawa Senators. So far in 8 games against the Senators, they've only won 2 of them. You have to look at it. If you won those games, you would be neck and neck with the Montreal Canadiens right now. So the Ottawa Senators, congratulations. You played spoiler to the Calgary Flames.
And anybody else that doesn't happen to make the playoffs because they haven't done so well against any of... It's funny, those bottom teams, the Vancouver, unfortunately due to COVID right now, the Flames, those are the problems at the moment. You know, like those are the ones they didn't play well against. Ottawa.
Which is funny when you look at it. And then a team that's done, that could potentially get second or first in the division because they played so well against Ottawa, is Edmonton. Yeah. Edmonton hasn't lost a game against Ottawa, where Toronto has actually struggled against Ottawa. Ottawa's done I would say, just a quick note, Ottawa's season, I think, has been a huge success. I think they've discovered which players work. I think they've found some good goaltending. I think Shabbat has got some good development.
And they know where the holes are.
Exactly. I think you give the Senators a couple years.
They are the Leafs of 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Provided they get another 1 or 2 good draft picks. Then we'll go back to our first segment, which is... Who's a good draft pick? We don't really know this year.
This is a very weird draft.
So yeah, but we have to talk about tomorrow night, my friend.
But we do have to talk about tonight. You are correct, which is an interesting one here. We have the Toronto Maple Leafs versus, you already know this, Winnipeg Jets. So this should be a very good game. This game, depending on how things work out on Thursday night, could literally be deciding the top of the North. Winnipeg is very, very close to Toronto.
I do not think, and this is my Leafs fan, put my Leafs hat on, if you put Riddick in net, which I hope they don't, if you put Riddick in net, we're not in first place come Saturday. And for either of these games, Campbell has rested. You could legitimately put Campbell in and say he is our number 1 back-to-back.
And either that, or you know what, let's say I looked into my crystal ball and Campbell, I think he's going to play well on Thursday, but let's say he doesn't. Maybe give Hutchinson another go. This is his former team. He wants to show still that he is an NHL quality goalie. He does have a good save percentage, a good goals against average. I think, put that away, that he has done a good job for the Leafs this year. But since the tape is getting closer to me and I'm getting a little bit afraid, you know what, Dan? We got to go again.
I know we did.
It was We didn't even get through everything on this again, but you know what? That is okay.
We have to make ours an hour.
We really do at some point got to make this show an hour. But before we go, for everyone watching at home or wherever on the go, I want to thank everyone for tuning into 705 Sports. All the viewership we've been getting, it has been unbelievable to see the way this show has grown. So I want to thank you. Don't quiet me over that. I want to thank Dan for joining the show. I want to thank Mike and Kevin on the production team. I want to thank everyone here. And we will see you next week as I am rambling. Bye.